Michael Gil, the trained actor and son of Holocaust refugees, tapped into his early artistic passions and life experiences to build up to his memorable role as President Garrett Walker on the hit Netflix show House of Cards. He talked to me about his journey and the business of acting. Welcome, Michael Gil.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And fresh off of completing this walk-on role on Person of Interest on CBS, that's pretty exciting because this is a network show as opposed to Netflix. How is that different?
Caffeinated. I mean, it's a completely, it's a New York caffeinated experience to do a TV show here in town. So and with a network, so you've got really, it's a very big money question, timing, getting things done. You have a schedule, and it's really a radical difference from a more relaxed set in Baltimore where it's always a scheduling thing, and money is always a big question, but we have a more time to shoot an episode.
Tell me about your role.
I was playing a consul, a French ambassador for the UN, and so I got to use a little French accent and speak a little French and do a little Eurotrash stuff.
And you have experience in that area and playing a dignitary.
I do have experience in being Eurotrash.
And playing a dignitary as well.
And playing dignitaries. Oh yes, that's right, that too.
Okay, so a lot of people are excited, of course, to hear about what you can give us about House of Cards, but I want to kind of back up and just go back to your journey because you have a great story. You were born in New York City, raised in Switzerland, and you developed a passion for acting when you did Shakespeare in a play. Tell me about that.
I had a great Shakespeare teacher. I did the British standard exams in boarding school. I was at a British boarding school in Switzerland, and so we had an early view of Shakespeare. We started young. And it was language, and this teacher took it very seriously. It was poetry, and we would recite in class, and I took an immediate interest in the language of it. And then he asked me to do Macbeth and play the title role. And so I immersed myself in it and just fell in love with acting again and using my language skills with it. So it really came together. It really started coming together at that point.
And before the interview started, we were talking about how life is so much of a big part of acting, just living, becoming good at acting. Your parents were Holocaust refugees.
Yes, they escaped.
How did that affect you?
Terribly. I mean, really, it's hard to be a survivor of a survivor, because the fear base of that kind of experience is so ingrained in their lives that I think for them the biggest issue was doing everything they could for us not to die. So the stakes were very, very high.
How did that inform you as an actor?
Well, it certainly informed me of how to be scared, but it also taught me how to negotiate that and to calm down, because it wasn't my parents' life. I didn't have my parents' life. We were here in New York, based here for the first 10 years of my life, and it was a freer experience. So I had to balance it out. I had to discern what was their life and what was mine. And balancing that out also gave me a space for really discovering an emotional life that they didn't have. Because theirs was very cut and dry. You know, survive or be taken. Hunt or be hunted, you know. I mean, it was just a very scary time. Bombs falling around them. That took them a year to escape. And they narrowly escaped, with much of their family being deported.
Did that make them more open to allowing you to have options?
Yes, first of all. Second of all, my father was a businessman. He was in high finance. And he had experienced the cutthroat environment of that. And he thought, I want my kids to be brought up in the arts, and he thought show business. He didn't get the fact that that was an extremely cutthroat business. He didn't know that. What he thought was arts, go really get that kind of education. And so we were all geared in music, practical arts, painting, pottery, all kinds of tactile things. And for me, I was very heavily involved in the theater.
And what a great place to be when you went to Juilliard. I went back and I read an article from 1985 where you were doing a Tennessee Williams play.
Yes.
What percentage of actors that you work with do you believe have a theatrical background, and is it still important to have that experience today?
I think it's important. I don't think it's the be-all and the end-all. I'm not a big proponent to say you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to learn this way. People really come to it in very different ways, and I think the palette is free. For me, my journey was very important. I loved studying the classics. I loved studying language, so it was a perfect opportunity for me to do Tennessee Williams, to do Shakespeare, to do all kinds of Elizabethan and classical theater. And then mix it with contemporary stuff. It was just a good way for me to go.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you don't get better than Tennessee Williams. You really don't.
And John Sticks, this was a teacher early in your career who directed Knights of the Iguana.
Yeah.
And he made you audition for your part.
He did.
And then sweat it out for a few days while he finished all the casting.
Yeah. Yeah, you've done your homework.
What was that about?
It was so exciting because it was a first taste of what this business was going to be like. So in our 4th year at school, we got very competitive, but it also determined how badly we wanted it. And we all wanted it badly. We all did our work, and we learned there and then, you can do all your work and still not get it, but when you walk away and you don't get it, at least you know you've done your work. And that's the consolation, really. And when you do get it, you know why, because you were prepared. And this business, as an actor, you have to be prepared.
Was there ever a point that you considered yourself a struggling actor?
Always, always.
Even now?
Yeah, we're 98% unemployed. So we're really in it. And so every time you have a job, you get to relish that, and you also have to start looking for the next one.
Right.
It's never a moment of, for most of us, and then when you get to be a big star, it's about the project, because we're always wanting to work. We're always wanting to create. That's who we are. We're creative spirits. And so if it's not about money, it's about creativity. And the roles and the content are hard to find. You can be the biggest star and have 50 scripts on your table, but if there isn't something that really takes your spirit, what are you going to do? So you're back at that same place of, I want to work.
Okay, so we have to go into the House of Cards questions. Sure. So many people with so many questions. So right now, it hasn't been confirmed that you will or you won't be back on the show next season.
Not confirmed.
But I'm told there's a possibility that they'll find a way to work you into the season because they just started last week.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Bo Willimon, the writer, has just, he tweeted just a couple of weeks ago that he'd finished the first episode, writing the first episode. So he's at the very beginning of his journey.
Okay.
He's got 12 left.
Right.
And so who knows? It's a big secret. Nobody really knows what's going to happen and what's in Bo's head.
I'm told that as a special bonus to people, you'll give a mystery clue. So what clues are you prepared to give us about things on the show?
This season?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have anything good?
Spoiler. Do I have anything good? Oh gosh, there's a lot.
I'm going to get into the questions.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Okay, I'm going to ask a few questions from viewers, right? And then maybe I can give them a little something extra. Yeah. This is from Dennis Neal, who is one of our colleagues in the media business. Do you think that the president you played was weak for leaning so much on Tusk and Francis, or strong for listening without feeling offense?
Great question. Great question. And I get asked a lot about how does it feel to play what is perceived to be a weak president? And I have a couple of responses to that. First, if you look at Othello and you see the greatness of this man, he is one of our greatest generals at the time. He has decimated fleets and armies all over the world. There's nothing greater than Othello. And in comes Iago and manages to turn him into a whining little baby. Because it's not because Othello is weak, it's because Iago is a consummate villain. And we are just relishing what this man brings to, and why? Why is he so wanting to bring Othello down? What is it about his hunger? What is it about Frank Underwood and his hunger to bring Walker down? Whether it's Walker, whether it's Catherine Durant, who's actually played by my wife, or anybody, you are not safe. You will be manipulated. You will be taken down. So that's Michael Gill's perspective. From President Walker's perspective, he is not being manipulated. He's just making choices according to the advice that he gets. And he's got a lot of advice from a lot of people. Raymond Tusk is one of his most trusted people in his world. Frank becomes one, so he thinks, and others that we don't see. But that's because this isn't, President Walker's story. This is Frank Underwood's story. And so we have to give it license. We have to sort of impose a Shakespearean tale onto it and say, we watched this for 3 hours without a problem and watch Iago take him down because we want to.
Right.
And if we balance that out and the metaphor of it, we are frustrated that he's being taken, but it's because Frank is so good.
Oh, so why go only 3 seasons and then end it?
Well, we don't know how many seasons it's going to go.
Okay, so you're not
This
sure.
could go on and on.
Okay.
But what we do know is that this is a tragedy because it has been inspired by Richard III. The man who wrote it, Michael Dobbs, was inspired by Richard III. So because it is, and it's a tragedy imposed on our current political systems, we know that in a tragedy, a rise and fall.
Have you met the president, Obama?
No.
Have you met any presidents?
I haven't.
So did you need to train to be presidential?
Heavily.
How?
I've been training to be president. I haven't been training. I've been watching their behavior since I was a little kid. For some bizarre reason. I've just been fascinated by
But
the
you
greatness.
didn't go into a room and sit there and watch tape after tape after tape.
I didn't watch tape after tape to learn how to be president. I went in and looked at tape after tape to observe where their humanity comes out, where they're not being president, where people are playing them president. You walk into a room with President Obama or President Bush or
When
Clinton.
isn't he being president?
We don't know because we never see it. It's behind closed doors. It's
We
when the
we know
cameras
he
are
smokes.
not there. We know all kinds of things are going on. The volatility of temperament, we don't see those ups and downs. We never saw Johnson taking out his private parts in front of another congressman and going, look at this. We've never seen him hang on top. And we've seen pictures of him right on top and bullying people. We know that all presidents are bullies because at the end of the day, they all have to look at anybody in the room and say, buddy, I got the votes. I'm here because I got 60 million or 50 million or 70 million votes. You didn't. So let's not forget who's boss, and that's bully. But then they just go off the handle. They shoot off the handle very often. And we don't see any of that. So that's the kind of thing that really fascinated me.
I want to give credit for that question to Spencer Schubert. Great question. Final question. Dave Jordan, what do you think of Netflix's business model of shooting and releasing a whole season of episodes versus the whole traditional model of appointment TV?
Well, I think we all felt a seismic shift when Netflix announced that this was going to happen. We went, what? I know Kevin and David Fincher and Bo
Were you
Wildman
skeptical
did.
at all, or?
I know. We've been DVRing shows for a long time and watching them a bunch in a row. We've been going to blockbusters and getting seasons and seasons of things and just binging on things. So the writing was on the wall. Who was going to actually do it? It seems like a no-brainer now. It seems like, sure, that seems like the right thing to do. But to actually make that first step, and other than all the networks saying, well, show us an hour and we'll see whether we want to pick up a couple or not, Netflix went, how many do you want to make?
Yeah.
And they were like, 2 seasons?
What is this going to mean for the future?
Good question. I don't know. I think it's going to change. I think it will become more of this. People will get used to how to binge or not binge, how to do it, and realize, but it's a communal and a community experience. People are enjoying this social event of watching things together and being able to talk about it. So it's a much more social and community-oriented way of watching. So I think it's going to go that way.
Okay, and you have a young son, 14 years old, who's interested in acting. So is he watching a lot of his content on the computer and on demand?
Absolutely. He watches it. I mean, these young kids can watch on the iPhone as he's watching it on the computer, as he's watching it on the screen, all three at the same time.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, texting and tweeting about it. I mean, the multitasking that's going on is extraordinary. And you know what? I don't think it's about a TV show called TV anymore. It's a screen show.
Yeah.
You can watch it on anything. You're going to be rolling out your screens soon and putting them up on a wall to watch something. People are going to be incredibly discerning, not about what you're watching it on, but the quality of what you're watching. More and more, people are enjoying the content, the quality, and they're getting very sophisticated about these kinds of shows.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because most of my content is digital. It's not even on TV, a lot of these interviews. Okay, so just wrapping things up, because we're running out of time. Your wife, Jane Atkinson, plays the Secretary of State on the show. Is it hard to be talking to her out of character, and then, you know, 5 minutes later you're in character? Is there anything odd about having
Well,
her
we've
in
been
the
acting
show?
on stage for 25 years. So
Okay.
we know what we do. We know how we do it. And we get to it very differently, but when we actually work together, it's just the easiest and
So what are
funnest
the
thing to do.
benefits and the disadvantages, if there are any?
There
Of course,
actually aren't
maybe
any
there are no
disadvantages.
disadvantages.
There
I don't want to
actually
get you in
aren't.
trouble.
No, but I wish I could dish. But there aren't any disadvantages. The only
Okay.
disadvantage is that we're both on set and somebody is not with our son.
Okay.
So that's a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we look at each other before we hear action. I'm sitting in the Oval Office, she's sitting on the couch, and we're looking at each other going, really? Is this really, how fun is this? And I give her a kiss, and then boom, action, and off we go. And none of that bleeds in, because we've done this, we know. But inside, it's just magic, it's just wonderful.
And what's great about it is that you both still do local theater.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, where
Yeah.
you live, and
We
you
love
teach
working.
as well, right?
We teach the apprentices. We work with the theater, the Berkshire Theater Festival, and they're now called the Berkshire Theater Group. And we love to work and coach their apprentices.
All right.
So it's great.
Well, in an era of reality TV, it's good to see that there's someone who still cares about the craft.
I'm sure there are a lot. I really
Well,
do
Kevin
think.
Spacey, you work with him,
Yeah,
and he's
absolutely.
a genius.
And there are young people who do as well. And I think that more and more it'll balance it out. Right now they're more towards behavior, but people who really want to do this stuff will learn how to act.
I guess one more question, because you do work with Kevin Spacey,
Yeah.
and he's a jack of all trades in the sense that he's got the 360 involvement in acting. What's that do for his career, and what's it like to work for him?
Well, it raises the bar as an actor. And, you know, his level of focus, I mean, we could just be before we shoot, and we'll hear action, and he'll go, fan. Now, the guy with sound has got his headphones on, everybody's there, nobody hears the fan but Kevin Spacey. He'll say, you sure you want to shoot that with the guy walking across the garden? He's got all his hats on, he's so focused, he knows, you know, and then boom, he goes in. So it's a wonderful and an inspiring thing to see, that he is wearing all those hats and knows how to implement them, and then knows how to do his work. So I can't say enough about that guy. He is the real deal. He's the real deal, and it's just been a thrill and an honor. It was an honor to be elected president by David Fincher, Beau Willimon, and Kevin Spacey. I don't care about 50 million people, 70 million people, 3. That's all it took. It was
All
great.
right. Well, thanks a lot for coming in. I
You're
really
so welcome.
appreciate it.
Oh, it was great fun.
All right. Everybody, Michael Gil.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.